Hi, welcome back to this channel. I'm Caitlin, and I read. So for the month of August, I read 10 books. That might sound like a lot to a person who has not made reading their entire personality. But for me, I felt like this was a pretty slow reading month. I don't know, August just felt like the longest month in the world to me. But without further ado, let's start with the books that I did not finish. The Interestings by Meg Wolitzer. This book was not Interestings. It follows a group of teens at a summer camp for the arts, and then it just loosely follows those same teens through adulthood, and there is no plot. Just vibes, but the vibes are boring. So I did not get very far before I just DNF'd it. So, August celebrated James Baldwin's 100th birthday. So I treated myself. I got this nice edition of this Library of America copy of James Baldwin's early stories. I have started Giovanni's Room. I have not finished it yet. I'm not DNFing it. I just have not finished it. But since I started it in August, and August was his 100th birthday, I thought I'd share. But I'm on chapter 3. Alright, so the books that I did finish. Endgame by Samuel Beckett. This is a play. Yeah, this play takes place in a post-apocalyptic world. I forgot everybody's names already. But it follows a man who is blind and his little manservant and a stuffed dog that he either pretends is real or he believes it's real, and then his geriatric parents who don't have legs and they live in trash bins. This play was really fucking weird. And I like weird. This is coming from me, so you know it's really weird. I didn't like it, but not because I think it was poorly written or anything. I really truly did not get it. I think this play has to be performed. I think I need to see it on stage to really understand what Beckett was trying to achieve. But yeah, I can't say that I recommend it. And yeah, I did not rate it. I actually did not rate most of the books I read this month. I've been finding just the 5-star rating scale to be kind of arbitrary, and the way I rate books is very personal to me. I rate mostly on a scale of how much I enjoyed it, but then that just leaves a big gap in my Goodreads ratings, because I can give Monster Smut and The Diary of Anne Frank both 3 stars because I enjoyed it the same. But do I think it has the same cultural significance? No. So, yeah, I've kind of stopped giving books ratings. Not completely, but mostly. Oh, sweet. My friend just watched Dee Dee. I watched it a couple days ago, and I cried. Okay, the next book I read was The Bluest Eye by Toni Morrison. This is also one of the reasons I stopped reading books, because this was my first Morrison novel. I've read Recitative, which is her only short story, and I really liked that, so I decided to start with The Bluest Eye because that was her first novel. It follows a little girl named Pecola Breedlove and the struggles she lives being a little black girl who's not very pretty and comes from an abusive household, and the bullying she faces. It is very upsetting to read. I did not have fun reading it. If you have not read it, I would like to give you a trigger warning for sexual assault. That was also very upsetting to read. But I do think the book is really well written. It covers important topics, hard topics, but important topics. So if you can stomach it, I would recommend it. Yeah, and I'm excited to read more Morrison in the future. But yeah, that was kind of a doozy. And because that book was such a doozy, the book I immediately read after that was The BFG by Roald Dahl. I have been wanting to reread books from my childhood, specifically Roald Dahl. I remember really liking the BFG when I was a kid. It was very, very fun. If you haven't read it, first of all, highly recommend, even if you're an adult, especially if you're an adult, actually. It's kind of dark for a children's book, actually. I surprised. I didn't get scared when I read it, but I also read Goosebumps as a kid. So, but yeah, it follows a little girl named Sophie. She's an orphan, and one day she looks out her window and she sees a giant, and he kidnaps her because little girls aren't allowed to see giants. I'll tell everybody. But good news, he is a big, friendly giant. The bad news, all the other giants are not. And it just follows the friendship between this little girl and the BFG and how they try to stop all of the evil giants from eating all of the children around the world. It's very fun and cute. Next, I read Breasts and Eggs by Miko Kawakami. This was a recommendation from my friend Marley, and I really enjoyed it. I did rate this one. I give it 4 stars. So it's called Breasts and Eggs. The first half is breasts, the second half is eggs. In Breasts, we follow a woman. I don't remember anybody's name, sorry, but it follows a woman whose sister and daughter are staying with her, and her sister is obsessed with getting a boob job. And then the second half, we follow the other sister and her journey with wanting to become a mother as a single woman in Japan. And both stories I really liked. I think I enjoyed the first half, Breasts, a little bit more than Eggs, and I do wish they were a bit more cohesive. But all in all, I really liked the writing style, and I think it covered just really important topics and really relatable topics, and the question of, is it ethical to have children? Because what if your child doesn't want to be born and stuff like that? So it's definitely a thinker, and I really liked it and I recommend it. Next, I read Until August by Gabriel Garcia Marquez. This was published posthumously this year. This is a novella about a woman. Every August, she goes to this island and has an affair. And that's kind of all I'm going to say about it. I read it because it was August. I liked it. This is the first book I've read by Gabriel Garcia Marquez. I own 100 Years of Solitude, just haven't cracked that bad boy open yet. But I can tell he was a very talented writer, but the book definitely left me wanting more. It was published posthumously, and it was published incomplete. So I don't think it's really fair to criticize the book that much. But I do think I got some literary value out of reading it. Next, I read Candide by Voltaire. Yeah, it was weird. Yeah, Candide was weird. But basically, it follows this dude. He lives in this palace, and he has a crush on... Is it the king? I forget what kind of monarchy it is. Let's just call him the king. I don't give a shit. He has a crush on the king's daughter, and then he kisses her, and the king's like, not on my watch, and he kicks him out. And then he gets kidnapped. Crazy shit happens from there. I don't know. I don't want to say too much. It's also kind of hard to explain without just giving or spoiling the whole book. It's quite short. It's only 100 pages, I believe. Each chapter is quite short. It's just vignettes of new adventures that Candide goes on, each one worse than the last. Next, I listened to Beach Read by Emily Henry on audiobook. Follows a woman named January Andrews. She is a romance novelist, and she moves into her dad's sex house after he died. And then turns out her next door neighbor is her college nemesis, Augustus Everett, who is a literary fiction writer. They decide to switch genres over the summer because they both have writer's block. Obviously, romantic shenanigans ensue. This was fun. This was my second Emily Henry. I liked Funny Story a lot more. I think that just has to do with the fact that I liked Miles as a love interest more than Augustus. I'm just really sick of rude boys in romance novels. Hot take, I don't like when men are mean to me. I found Gus to be, I don't know, kind of irritating. I also found January to be really annoying sometimes. But they did have pretty good banter. I think Emily Henry is really good at writing witty banter. I had fun though. I don't not recommend it. It just wasn't my fave. Then I read Pizza Girl by Jean Kyung Fraser. So Pizza Girl is 18. She's pregnant. She is deeply unhappy. Then she starts delivering pizzas to a woman named Jenny, and she develops this obsession with her. Yeah, I really enjoyed this. I think it captured depression, obsession, feeling numb, feeling stuck really well. It's quite short. I think it wrapped things up kind of quickly. It kind of left me wanting a little bit more. The ending felt a little empty to me, if that makes sense. But all in all, I really liked the writing. And this is her only book, but if she comes out with another one, I would definitely read it. Next, I read And the Hippos Were Boiled in Their Tanks by William S. Burroughs and Jack Kerouac. I don't have my copy anymore because I finally returned it to my friend. Not great. This one you can skip. Not a great book. It's loosely based off of a real event. It's about these two dudes, and they got a friend and another friend, and one of those friends is obsessed with the other friend, and the other friend gets tired of it, so he stabs him a little. And then Jack Kerouac and William S. Burroughs are like, not our problem, and then they all get arrested for accessory to a crime. Yeah, that's the whole plot, but the plot really doesn't take place until like the last 20 pages of the book. 80, 90% of the book is just vibes, and those vibes are boring. There is a movie that is based off the book. It's called Kill Your Darlings. The book was a fictionalized version of events, and the movie is actually based off of the real events, and so they use everybody's real names and all that. This was also published posthumously for good reason. It was just okay. The last book I read in August was I Love Dick by Chris Kraus. My friend Marley read this too at the same time as me. We're not on a book club or anything, but we both read a lot and we text each other about books, and so he was texting me. He was like, "Hey Caitlin, have you read I Love Dick?" And I was like, "No, but I have it right here." So this book is very, very unique. It is a combination of an epistolary novel and autofiction because it is about true events. So some of it is slightly fictionalized to protect identities and kind of blur the lines between memoir and fiction. But all in all, this is true. It's about this woman named Chris Kraus and her husband Sylvier, and she becomes absolutely fucking obsessed with this dude named Dick, who is a colleague of Sylvier's, and she just starts writing him these unhinged letters. Sylvier gets in on this. He's kind of a cuck, and he starts writing letters with her, but these letters are just so unhinged they're unsendable, and they eventually collect enough perverted material to fill a whole book. So I think the concept is interesting. I think Chris Kraus is clearly a talented writer, but she is so up her own ass that reading this was kind of insufferable. There's a part in this book, she says something along the lines of, "I wish I could be proud about loving men the way that gay women are proud." I'm like, oh my god. You shouldn't. Another thing that really bothered me was how her infatuation with Dick is never explained. And I do think that is part of it, that she doesn't even know what she likes about him so much. And how he's just this object for her to project these obsessive feelings on. But because he was a real dude, and she was a real lady, I just feel like as an audience, we need something to grasp on. You know, was he as sexy as Kevin Bacon? Was it how well spoken he was? Was it how he dressed? I don't know, just something for us to kind of see where she's coming from. But we don't know anything about Dick except for he is a dick. He's really rude to her. And I mean, some of it is warranted because she is stalking him, so. But he also humors her, you know. You might, it might not sound like it, but I would recommend it because I think it's so experimental and interesting you will definitely have opinions on it. To you, this might be a I love women's wrongs kind of story. But for me, her wrongs were too wrong. But I am glad I read it. Yeah, so those are all the books I read in August. Alright, thanks for watching, and I'll catch you guys in the next video.